Hey family, it's Ben, and I'm sitting here with my friend Monica Harbarger. It's easier to say than I make it, but I just did that. Again, you remember, I am not a therapist, right? But Monica is. Monica is an incredible therapist with United Counseling, which I'm thankful for. They've helped me in seasons of my life. And this week when we're talking about mental health, I talked to some friends, also had a short list in my mind, and your name was the first one that everyone suggested if I needed to talk to someone where faith and mental health connected and where we could see the fullness of that, who to talk to, and it was Monica. We have already talked a little bit about how the church has done a poor job historically at helping people take care of their mental health. And one of the goals, we can just say it out loud, is through this Sunday together to give you permission, not that you need permission from the church, but so many times you feel as though you have maybe been told you shouldn't seek medical help, or at best you've seen somebody wear a shirt that says you can have Jesus and a therapist too. And that's about the best message we've given. Yeah. And so we want to help fix that today. And so if you struggle with mental health, or friends or family, I mean, we all do to some degree, if we're being honest, this is an opportunity to learn a little bit more about that, things like that. And I'm going to take notes, by the way. If you have your worship guides, you can flip it over. If you're at home watching this, you can write this in one of the journals we've sent you. I would write things down because I think it's important to remember things. Let's say you're talking to someone today who's coming to church. They've been struggling in their mental health. They're needing some outside help. They're maybe hesitant because they don't want to not have faith that God can heal them. What would kind of be your message to them?
I would first probably start by saying they don't have to pick a side. They don't have to pick God or science. And I think that's a really sort of twisted misconception that believers have hooked into. It has to be one or the other, and it's not. It's both. If you lean 100% either way, it's a disservice.
Wow. Yeah.
Even if you lean 100% into faith and ignore science or medicine, then you're not really helping yourself. You're not allowing God to work through all of these different avenues to bring restoration, to your life. But then if you go all the way to medicine, I mean, if you just read research on the power of faith and healing, you are totally ignoring this other avenue that helps promote restoration. And that's our goal, is just restoration of our whole selves. And it's not necessarily brand new and shiny and a new model. It's just new.
So you said whole self. I love that. Can you explain that a little more? What's whole self?
Yeah, that's who we are mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's everything that God has put into play in our creation, and we're to steward it. Just like you hear doctors say how important exercise and diet and blood pressure and diabetes, and you have to steward your physical health. And just like we do spiritual disciplines and community and fellowship and worship, you have to steward your spiritual health. And so you have to steward your mental or emotional health just as much, or else you're not being fully who God has called us to be.
Love that. So stewarding our mental health. Give me some practical, today I am here, so I need this. What are some things, whether it be mindful practices or whether it be, go find a counselor, like what are some things you would say to someone today who's saying, I need someone or something to help me in my mental health?
Finding the right professional, whether it's a therapist or a psychiatrist, whoever will connect for you and that makes sense for you, is of the utmost importance. Having that support system around you who is encouraging you to talk about it, to do the work, that it's worth the battle that it feels like. You need those people around you that are holding you up when it feels like you can't hold yourself up. Really working on our self-awareness of how different people, situations, social media, different things impact us, and where it takes our minds and our spirits when we engage with that. And if our self-awareness is heightened, then we can begin to pivot and to shift to make those changes that enhance who we are and that push away all of the messages that are destructive, because we're not a people of destruction.
Those are things we should do. Anything you'd steer us away from? Is there anything right now that you're willing to say some people are turning in this direction that we would say not to?
I think that there can be too much of anything, that can be good in moderation, but too much can be destructive. Even the news, it's too much. It gets really divisive in your head. You see everything's hopeless, nothing is good out there. Social media can be great for connecting, but too much, it can be really destructive to our characters and who we are and who we want to be. Anything is a great coping mechanism until it's not, right?
Yeah, that's good.
And so we want to find ways to distract that and take our minds in a different direction. And we can plug into all different things, but then it can be too much. And so it's just this back and forth of walking that that fine line of what is good for you. Because what's good for me may not be good for you.
Right.
You know, and
Absolutely.
so that there's a real cost in comparing, you know, how other people are doing it versus how I'm doing it.
And I would say this, like, do your research, right? Research is free. When someone's looking for a counselor, there are certain things you can help them when they're looking, doing their own research. Is there any type of things that maybe us as lay people don't understand that maybe we need to look for?
I think word of mouth is the very best research that you can do. Not only are you talking to someone who's had a personal experience, you're also talking about what you need, and we've got to get better and more used to being comfortable in that discomfort of saying, hey, I'm really struggling. Do you know of anyone who would be great to talk to?
Yeah.
So the word of mouth is the best. You always kind of want to look at, you have to consider your financial state. And unfortunately, mental health care is sort of the bottom of the tier. And so you really need to look at if this person is private pay or insurance, and you need to do your research of what your insurance covers or doesn't cover. And if you don't have any of those resources, there's also great agencies out there who are able to do quality, wonderful work.
Awesome.
Even if you don't have the financial means to pay for it.
What are some practical steps that we can be taking, like as you leave today, outside of doing your own research, and hopefully we're gonna have some resources for you to work today as well. But let's say I'm someone who I am walking and trying to find wholeness, and I have a story, like, is it benefiting people? Is it not? Like, should we be? Like, what can we do there? Like, I don't know. What are some next steps maybe for us?
Well, I think everyone, the goal is for everyone to feel heard and to be seen, and to have a space where they can kind of fully be who they are, all the cracks and the crevices and that we have in our facade. I think when we choose to tell our story, I think we need to really look at what our motivation is behind that, and then we need to look at what our expectation at the end of the story is to be. And there's people who genuinely say, hey, I've been through this, and I remember what it felt like to be totally alone and isolated, and I want to share my experience because I know other people out there need to hear that, and I didn't have that when I was going through it. Those are the stories that we need to hear.
Yeah.
And not only I've been there, but this is what I did. This is what was helpful for me.
Yeah. That's great.
So if ever you tell a story, I would always encourage people to be able to disclose, this is what helped me.
Yeah.
It may not help you, but it might be a starting place.
Part of our faith is not just to tell people that we've been made whole, but how we got there. Like, you know what I mean? And so I love that. Okay, last one for real. What does the Western Church need to be doing that it seems to right now overarchingly be doing incorrectly to help people find wholeness in their whole body, including mental health?
Well, to pastors directly, I would say you need to talk about it from the pulpit. Because in my experience, listening to someone who we consider a spiritual leader disclose a vulnerable part of their life where they struggled, and what they did in the midst of that gives me all of a sudden, I feel like I could do that too, you know?
Yeah.
And it brings the pastors back down to the humanness of who we are. I think churches, ministries are the first point of contact when people are in pain, and that churches need to have a resource list of great clinicians, doctors, even church members who can relate and have been in this place. Gives people a place to start, because usually people who are really struggling with some kind of mental health, by the time they come to you, they're in crisis.
Yeah.
It literally can be life or death. They don't have the margin in their mind to research, to call insurance, to do all of these things that are really important. So if the church can take that proactive step in saying, hey, you know, in this particular situation, these are some great people to reach out to. That is such a huge gift in ministry to be able to do that.
One thing I want to state about Monica that you might not know is I'm thankful for Monica because she pastors a church, and she does this, and so she's helping, I think, the future of the church dramatically. So I just want to thank you, and I'm going to get our church family to thank you. They're going to clap right now. That's what they're doing over there.
Well,
they're clapping, and thank you for your time. Thanks for letting me steal some of it.
I think you just having this conversation points us at, helps us see how different we are today than we were 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
The fact that you're sitting down to talk about mental health in the midst of a worship service, I mean, that just gives me so much hope for our future, you know.
We'll see after the Sunday.
You know, for our kids and their kids and everyone.
Yeah, I love it. Wholeness. I like that. All right, thanks, Monica.
Yeah.